How do you really connect with someone with your language? Does it really matter what words you use to create rapport and connection? Find out now. Hey, I'm Mike Sweet of mikesweet.co.uk, giving you the edge in life and business with NLP and psychology. Today's show is really all about representational systems. Another mouthful, I'm sorry. But what this really means is we're talking about how a person constructs their reality and how a person conveys that. And that's normally in representational systems, and they are you've probably heard VAKOG: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory. Talk about a mouthful. But typically the main three, visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, this is how people will internalize what's being said. This is how people will verbalize how they understand. You see, people will not only construct different representations in their mind, depends on what their preference is, what are their sensory preferences, but we also communicate in those styles as well. This is why on occasion you can be speaking with someone and it just feels like you're not talking the same language. You're just not connecting. You're just not seeing where the other person is coming from. This is why it's vitally important you really begin to grasp representational systems in communication. It really can enhance any line of communication, not only for you to understand where another person is coming from, but more importantly, to make sure that they fully understand you. Let's face it, we're all human, we're all odd, we're all completely different. So by understanding this really does give you the edge to I was going to say manipulate, and I don't mean that, but to fully understand and to communicate at the best of your ability what it is that you want to convey, but you can also begin to deconstruct what another person is saying so you fully understand the message as well. Hope that makes sense. Now, you've heard of the film Lost in Translation, right? Well, even if you speak the same language, sometimes we just get lost. Let's look at an example. I've put one on the blog about a wedding planner. Now, let's say that the couple call the wedding planner and they leave a message on the wedding planner's voicemail. And they say, hey, wedding planner, we've seen your website and we've seen some great recommendations for your work. And we're really struggling to get a clear idea of what we want to create on our big day. We know we want to see something special so that when everyone arrives, they just get the impression that they're being wowed by this stunningness. Can you help us out? And then when the wedding planner might call back, having not noticed the sensory preferences used or the representational systems used, perhaps the wedding planner would say, of course I can help. We can put a plan together, we can knock it all into place and make sure it's exactly the shape of a wedding that you want. Because some people like big, tall, grandiose ornaments. Other people like delicate ornaments. People like something that they can sit on that's very plush. Whatever makes you feel right, I'm here to help. And the couple could look perplexed because they're not talking in the same representational system. You see, whenever you're dealing with a person and describing something that you want, that you desire, that you like, for example, we can get very passionate, and then that's when our real internal representational systems can come out. So when the couple call the wedding planner and talk in terms of being visual, being glitzy, it needs to look right. We need to get a clear picture of what this is going to look like for us. And the wedding planner replies saying, no problem, I understand how you feel. Let's knock this together to make sure we have a plan that works. And we're talking in very functional kinesthetic type feeling. And that connection can be lost. So it's vitally important that you not only understand your language, but that you understand other people's languages too, so you can make a better connection. But what happens when you're talking to more than one person? What happens when you start that line of communication, perhaps in a text message, an email, in a letter, in a conversation? Where do you start? Because you don't know. Let's take groups, for example. If you're talking to a large group of people, you can't possibly begin to grab each person's representational system and speak to them fluidly, easily. So you'd simply be varied in your approach. So if you're speaking to a large group, you'll talk about those things that you can see. You can see the big picture and get that vision of what it's going to be like when we all achieve that. So just imagine how that's going to feel when people are saying, "Wow, guys, you've done an amazing job." This is something that really touches the heart. When a person is able to see a vision and work towards it, imagine how good that feels. And not only do people outside recognize and say how amazing that work is, that little voice inside says, "Well done, you've achieved." You see, you can be very broad with your language and use those three main representational systems to cover it off when you're in large groups. And the same works for emails, the same works in written word as well. Just be varied in your approach initially. Until you get some feedback, then you can adjust. So when you have nothing to go from, just make sure you enrich in the conversation, the communication or the discussion any way you can using these main sensory preferences. You see, representational systems are there to be used, there to be noticed, and there to make a difference, not only to your connection and communication, but to those that you're trying to convey something to. What comes after communication? What else can you bolt on and understand representational systems? Let's take the event or the wedding, for example. And perhaps you've got something close to you that you would like to create an event that people do feel special, they do want to come to, and that you don't get any criticism. How do you do that? Well, the quick answer is you can't please everyone. But what you can do is make sure that the seating's comfortable for those people, kinesthetics. You can make sure it does look beautiful and well presented for those visual people. You can make sure that the PA system and that the sound system is a good quality so those people who are predominantly auditory get the real high quality sound that they're looking for. You can make sure that your Toastmaster speaks eloquently. Not only does he look the part, but he sounds the part. And then you can add in if the Toastmaster or people doing the speech can create a level of emotion for those kinesthetics again. You see, representational systems are everywhere around us. So it's just time to stop and think for a moment. How can you begin to implement and use them? Now remember, with all NLP, there's no way to learn it by watching, by listening or reading. NLP or learning anything needs to be done experientially. So how are you going to apply this? How are you going to practically take this and start to implement it, to notice it in your life? If you're a bit stuck, head over to mikesweet.co.uk/sign up and get on my email newsletter and receive weekly practical tips of how you implement NLP in your life and your business. Remember, guys, as well as catching me on YouTube, you can also find me on iTunes. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Mike C. Sweet. So let's get connected. If you've liked what you've seen so far, give us a thumbs up, give us a comment, and obviously subscribe. Why not? Till next time, see you soon.